Thank you for your interest in learning to be a better glypher by downloading OnyxGlyph. OnyxGlyph is a simple application designed to teach you to glyph faster and more accurately than ever before. OnyxGlyph uses a HUD-style overlay that acts as a glyphing scratch pad for glyph sequences, as well as a muscle memory trainer for the glyph game. Continue watching to see tutorials for OnyxGlyph calibration, basic sequence searching, and advanced features. Let's calibrate OnyxGlyph. First, take a screenshot of the glyph game on the device you'll be using OnyxGlyph. Start the application by tapping the OnyxGlyph icon. You'll notice the heads-up display along with tracing dots pops up right away. For now, dismiss these dots by tapping the center directional button once in the HUD. For future reference, tracing dots can be toggled on and off by tapping this button. With the HUD running, open the screenshot you took earlier in full screen mode. Now hold down the center directional button for about a second, then align the tracing dots over the screenshot dots. As you can see, it's not a very great fit, so let's enable calibration mode by tapping the right settings button, then the ruler icon. A slider bar will appear that will scale to the tracing dots. Slide this left and right to resize the tracing dots. When it looks like the dots are the correct size, drag the center directional button on the HUD once again until you get a decent fit. When finished, tap the ruler bar again to dismiss the calibration slider bar. You are now calibrated. After calibrating OnyxGlyph as seen in Tutorial 1, you'll need to learn how to find glyph sequences. In this example, I'll be using several 4 and 5 glyph sequences from the Settings HUD button. Note you can quickly switch between 4 and 5 glyph sequences using this method. Next, find a portal and initiate the glyph game. Then quickly enable the tracing dots by single tapping the center directional HUD button. As glyphs display, trace the first glyph. If there is only one sequence that starts with this glyph, you'll hear shotgun shells, and the full sequence will appear at the top of the screen. If there are multiple sequences found, either tap the correct sequence at the top or continue to trace in glyphs in sequence until the correct full sequence is found. After finding a valid glyph sequence, the trace dots will automatically disappear, allowing you to play the glyph game as normal with a convenient glyph sequence at the top of the screen. If you'd like to enable Glyph Assist playback, see Tutorial 3 for optimal utilization of this app. This tutorial assumes you have calibrated OnyxGlyph as seen in Tutorial 1 and know how to search for glyph sequences as shown in Tutorial 2. To use Glyph Assist, you must manually enable it from the OnyxGlyph settings activity. Start OnyxGlyph and minimize the HUD by clicking the Settings button, then the Minimize icon. Note OnyxGlyph HUD will hide in the notification drawer, which you can then click again to re-enable the HUD. Next, verify Glyph Assist playback is enabled by toggling the Glyph Assist setting. You can also set how quickly you'd like the next glyph in the sequence to appear, which we'll see in a moment. Now, begin the glyph game and find a sequence following the steps you saw in Tutorial 2. Using Glyph Assist playback, instead of the trace dots disappearing, a playback appears. Wait for the glyph game to await your input, then begin tracing the first glyph. As you start to trace, a yellow line of the glyph will appear. Glyph this with your finger. While glyphing, the next glyph will fade into view behind the glyph that you are currently tracing. When done with the current glyph, begin tracing the gray glyph, which will then turn yellow, allowing the next glyph to fade into the view, and so on. When all glyphs are finished, click the left clear button in the HUD to clear the glyph sequence and Glyph Assist previews.